Okay, so today we are diving deep into what has to be the most unexpected box office story of early 2026.
Oh, absolutely.
The original creature feature Primate.
The ultimate January surprise. I mean, January is famously the dump month for studios.
Right.
It's where you put the movies you don't have a lot of faith in. But this film, a high-concept horror about a rabid chimpanzee, just comes out of nowhere and debuts in the top 2.
Tying with The Housemaid, which was a huge holdover. And that's really our mission today. We want to unpack how this mid-budget movie, I think the budget was somewhere around $21 to $24 million.
Right around there.
How it created such a massive cultural footprint.
Yeah.
How do you take a premise that sounds like, a direct-to-video flick from the 80s and turn it into a modern horror case study?
Well, I think the first step was polarization. They leaned into it. From the very beginning, the buzz was intense, but not all of it was positive.
Wow.
We saw reports from those early mystery screenings where, up to 80% of the audience just walked out.
80%.
The film was just too brutal, too visceral for them. And that extreme reaction, that rejection, that became the entire foundation of its success.
That's the perfect hook, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a signal to core horror fans.
Yeah.
This is the real deal. They are not pulling any punches.
Exactly.
So let's get into the actual story, because the setup itself is just perfectly designed for isolation and tragedy. It's about a young woman, Lucy, played by Johnny Sequoia, and she's returning to her family at this unbelievably lavish but isolated cliffside home in Hawaii.
And that Hawaiian setting is so key. It's beautiful, but it also screams isolation. They are trapped there geographically. And the emotional anchor of the family is Ben, their adopted chimp.
And this is where it gets interesting, because Ben isn't just some pet.
No, not at all. This is where the intelligence factor is crucial. Lucy's late mother was a linguist, and she'd actually taught Ben American Sign Language.
Wow.
And she'd given him a soundboard tablet to, communicate more complex ideas.
That's just tragic. So Ben is literally a talking, thinking link to their dead mother. It makes the violence that's coming feel so much worse, so much more personal.
It's profoundly wrong. And the trigger for all of this is so specific. Ben gets bitten by a rabid mongoose.
And the family just completely misreads it.
They do, because rabies isn't endemic to Hawaii. It's not on their radar at all. So they see his psychosis, his distress, and they just assume it's grief or, some kind of behavioral issue.
Right.
And then the father, Adam, leaves for a book signing, and suddenly the rest of the family is locked in this house with a deteriorating, hyper-intelligent predator.
Okay, we have to talk about the giant literary elephant in the room here.
Cujo.
Yes, exactly. This is not just a random animal attack movie. It's playing in a very famous sandbox.
Oh, it is. The director, Johannes Roberts, was very open about it. It's a direct homage to Stephen King's Cujo. The whole structure is there.
A beloved family pet.
Turned into a monster by rabies.
Trapping a family in an isolated place.
It's all lifted straight from King. But swapping a St. Bernard for a chimpanzee, that changes everything.
It completely changes the threat level. I mean, Cujo is terrifying because of this, blind, massive rage. A chimp is different. It introduces a calculated threat.
And that's the genius of it. A chimp is intelligent. It has opposable thumbs. It can move on 2 legs. It's incredibly strong. It can open doors, use tools. It knows the layout of the house.
Roberts called Ben the Freddy Krueger of chimps.
He did, and that one phrase immediately shifts the whole movie from a creature feature into a straight-up slasher. Ben isn't just raging, he's stalking. He's planning. He's using his intelligence against them.
I think the scene that defines that difference is when he goes outside and locks the electrical panel. He plunges the house into darkness. That's not instinct.
No, that's planning. That elevates the villain from an animal to, like you said, a monster. And to sell that, the violence had to feel incredibly real.
Which brings us to the technical side of it, the thing all the critics were raving about.
The practical effects.
Yes. I just love this decision. In an age of endless CGI, the producer Walter Hamada and Roberts just said, no, we're doing this for real. They wanted it to feel tactile.
Tactile is the perfect word. It's about tangibility. When you see the physical weight of that creature making contact with an actor, some part of your brain just registers it as real in a way CGI can't always replicate.
So how did they pull it off? I mean, what did that actually look like on set?
The result was, it was shockingly realistic. They got a movement specialist, Miguel Torres Umba, to wear this incredibly complex animatronic suit.
Okay.
But it wasn't just one guy in a suit. It was like a whole modular system. They had interchangeable heads for different expressions of rage or pain.
And the detail work, I mean, it's already legendary.
Oh, it is. Think about this. They had dedicated puppeteers whose only job was to control like subtle facial twitches live on camera. They even had saliva technicians.
Saliva technician.
Yeah. Their whole job was making sure the rabid, foaming mouth looked sickeningly authentic in every shot. That's the commitment that gave the film its real bite, as one review put it.
But here's the funny thing, and it says a lot about modern audiences. Some people saw it and thought it looked fake because they're so used to the, the super smooth look of high-end CGI, like in the Planet of the Apes films.
It's a fascinating cognitive shift, right? Because practical effects are bound by physics, they can sometimes look a little, I don't know, uncanny to an eye that's been trained on perfect pixels.
Yeah.
But the real horror fans, they got it. They celebrated it. They knew it was an intentional choice that added this sort of campy charm while still being terrifying.
And speaking of grounding the terror, they made another brilliant choice that ties directly into the whole theme of communication.
The casting of Troy Kotsur.
Exactly. An Oscar winner as Adam the Deaf Father. This is not a gimmick.
Not at all. Roberts used his deafness to completely upend the slasher formula. They called it sensory horror.
So how did that work, like with the sound design?
Well, in the scenes where Adam is alone and Ben is stalking him, the sound just drops out.
Completely.
Sometimes completely. It just plunges you, the audience, into his silent world. Other times it's muffled or you just hear these deep, low vibrations. You are experiencing the attack from his perspective.
So it subverts that old trope of the audience yelling, "He's right behind you." Because here, we're in the same auditory void he is. We see the chimp moving, we see something get knocked over, but we don't get the jump scare sound.
Yeah.
The release.
It creates this uniquely intense visual dread. You're just forced to rely on your eyes, and the tension is just, it's relentless.
And that links perfectly back to the tragedy of it all. The mother's legacy was communication language, but the father's experience is silence.
And the irony is that in this crisis, his deafness becomes both their biggest vulnerability and their greatest strength. They have to rely on visual cues, on nonverbal communication to survive. It forces this broken family to finally come together silently to fight this thing that used to be a link to their lost mother.
The psychological weight of that is just immense.
Yeah.
To have to destroy the living memory of your mom.
Precisely. It really elevates the film beyond just gore.
Okay, so let's get to the bottom line.
Yeah.
How did this incredibly specific, mean-spirited, R-rated film break out in January of all times?
The numbers are genuinely stunning. It opened with $11.3 million in just under 3,000 theaters.
And for context, what does a number like that mean for this kind of movie?
Well, the average opening for a non-franchise creature feature is around, $8.7 million? So they crushed that average. And they did it by capitalizing on that empty January schedule. No superhero competition.
Right, a clear field.
They knew their audience was hungry, and they served them exactly what they wanted. The domestic share was huge, something like 84% of its worldwide debut, which just proves they nailed their target demographic here in the States.
But the audience data is tricky. It got a B cinema score. To a casual moviegoer, that sounds not great.
It would be if you were making a 4-quadrant blockbuster, but for a movie that the MPAA flagged for strong, bloody, violent content and gore, a B is a badge of honor.
Okay, explain that.
It means the film was so uncompromising that it pushed away the casuals but deeply satisfied the hardcore horror fans. The post-track score confirms it, a 50% definite recommend. Half the audience loved it, the other half was probably part of that 80% that walked out.
That's the calculated risk.
Yeah.
And that leads us right into the marketing, which basically weaponized that exact reaction.
It was marketing genius. The key was those Monday mystery movie screenings.
Yes.
People paid $5 to see a surprise film, so when these unprepared audiences were suddenly hit with the sheer brutality of Primate, you get those massive walkouts.
And instead of hiding it, they made the walkout the story.
Exactly. The exodus went viral. On Reddit, on TikTok, the question wasn't, is this movie any good? It was, is this movie really as unwatchable as they say?
Which, for a certain type of movie fan, is the ultimate invitation.
It drove the gorehounds to the theater to prove they could handle it, and then they went even further.
The mic it up audiences.
Yeah, they recorded the real screams and gasps from those screenings and cut them directly into the trailers. They weren't selling the movie's plot, they were selling the experience of being horrified by it.
So if we're boiling it all down, what's the big takeaway for you, the learner, from this deep dive?
I think Primate is a perfect case study for how an original mid-budget genre film can still win.
In a market that's just dominated by sequels and IP.
Right. The keys were, one, a specific technical choice going practical when everyone else goes digital, and two, a really bold, almost confrontational marketing plan that turned bad reactions into fuel.
They knew exactly who their audience was, and they didn't compromise one bit to try and get anyone else.
They delivered.
And the film ends on such a bleak, haunting note. After all that, Ben, the chimp that could communicate, is dead. An officer is collecting evidence and picks up Ben's soundboard.
And it accidentally plays one last phrase. Lucy bad.
Chilling.
It is. And it leaves you with this devastating question. If a creature can communicate, if it has a link to human language, but it's still destroyed by this random biological threat, what's the real horror? Is it the failure of nature? Or is it our failure as humans for ever thinking we could keep such a wild, intelligent animal as a pet? That final phrase, Lucy bad, it forces you to ask, was the monster a victim too? And that's the question that really sticks with you.